Welcome to the very first episode of On the Digital 40, a show highlighting some of TSTV and UT Austin's finest alumni. We have a very special guest for our first show tonight, so please keep on watching. Hello, everybody, and welcome into our first show. I am tonight's host, Christine Taylor, and I am joined by former TSTV member and College Crossfire host, Jonathan Polasek. Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Christine. It's a pleasure to be on. Yeah, I'm excited that y'all are, like I said, just having me on just to kind of come back and kind of chat about my time at TSTV. It was such a great time. And so, like I said, I'm just glad to be back.
Absolutely. It's so great to have you back on. Let's jump right in. It has been officially a year since you graduated from UT. So what have you been up to? How does it feel? How's everything going?
So yeah, it has been about a year. So basically what I did is, like, after I graduated, I went back home to Houston. I was there for about 8 months or so, I want to say. Well, I guess closer to 9. Basically what I ended up doing was I was looking for a job and everything, just all across the country, and just applying, wasn't having much luck. And so starting in like September, I actually got kind of like a part-time thing as a high school football color commentator for a online radio station for Yoakum High School, which it's in Yoakum, Texas. I don't know if many of y'all know where that is. It's basically, let's say, about 2 hours or so southwest of Houston. So I would do the color commentating for their away games. And so that's what I did for a couple of months. And then once high school football ended, kind of just back on the grind, looking for jobs and everything like that. And then come January, I applied for this job out here in Midland. And I see the job posting. It was on a Sunday, so I send in my resume, my application, everything. I hear back from the news director that Monday saying, hey, we want to interview you. In fact, we have like a 20 minutes kind of like interview right there, I guess an informal interview. And basically that went well enough. And she's like, I want you to meet our assistant news director. How does a Wednesday Skype interview work for you? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so when Wednesday comes and goes, did the interview over Skype, and on Friday, I get a call from the news director saying, hey, we want to offer you a job. And so I was like, okay. So I took the job, and I'm now the night side reporter for News West 9 out here in Midland, Texas. So I'm basically the main reporter for the 10 o'clock show. So I'll do day turns for the 10 o'clock just about every day, Monday through Friday. Occasionally have some stuff for our 6 o'clock show as well. And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing. I started here. My first day was, I think, February 24th. So it's been just a little over 2 months now that I've been here. So I'm enjoying it. And so, yeah, it's a little different being in news than and transitioning from sports to news. Still some things that still need to learn, but it's nothing that TSTV hadn't taught me. Just got to apply my skills in a different area.
Yeah, that's really great. It sounds like you started working and then went straight into quarantine. So I'm glad you adapted really well to that one.
It was something. I did 3 weeks of training, and they're like, okay, yeah, coronavirus. So now it is here, or well, it wasn't here, but it was like our parent company said, okay, everybody needs to start working from home. So I'm like, great. I think I got a week's worth of like actual like work, non-training work at the station, and they're like, okay, work from home. I'm like, wow, fantastic.
Well, great learning experience for sure. So you mentioned TSTV definitely prepared you for all of this. You joined TSTV as a freshman at UT, and you stuck around for the rest of your time, so even holding position of Crossfire host, like I mentioned earlier. So what enticed you to join TSTV in the first place, and why did you choose to stick around?
Well, so one of the things that kind of like I didn't know about TSTV in the fall of my freshman year. I was, like I said, as a freshman, I just kind of joined, I was just kind of trying to find my way, figure out what I was doing and everything. And it was actually one of my friends from my FIG group who she was in TSTV. I think she was only there for a year. But she's like, she knew that I want what I kind of wanted to do, but I didn't know whether or not we actually had a group or not. But she's like, "Hey, you should come to an episode of College Crossfire." And it was an episode that she was on that Wednesday, and she's like, "You should come and kind of check it out. And if you enjoy it, if it's something that you like, you should join either now or in the spring." And so I went and saw my first College Crossfire, and it was just honestly, I saw just how much fun everybody had with it, and everybody was just super welcoming. I mean, nobody knew me. I was just, like I said, I was a freshman, and there were a few other freshmen there. But yeah, no, it was just, I was there. And then, like I said, it was just really just the people. I made so many good friends at TSTV, people that I still talk to today, and people that I still look up to, even like some of the older people, some of the older guys. I mean, Mark Skoll, I mean, he's a year older than me, but he's somebody that I grew relatively close to during my time at TSTV. And I mean, kind of like following in his footsteps a little bit in terms of my path at TSTV, going from just regular member to eventually College Crossfire host as a senior. So it was really just, like I said, just more so the camaraderie that really brought me back. I mean, yeah, being able to kind of do what I love, which is talk about sports, was one of the main draws. But the biggest draw for sure was definitely everybody I got to work with and everybody I got to meet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely what brings most of us back into the station like 3 or 4 times a week. So I agree with that one. You were with TSTV for 3.5 years, though, and I'm sure lots of different things happened during your time. I was around for 2 of your years, and I know a lot of stuff happened in that time. But what are some of your most memorable moments? You don't have to include me in one, but like I was around for 2 years.
This is something that I like to bring up a lot, just because it's, for me, it was, I personally instigated it. I think, and I think I brought this up when I came on the alumni Crossfire show. Matt Adams, he was the assistant sports director at the time, so he was in charge of putting College Crossfire together, and or producing College Crossfire, excuse me. And my big shtick was wearing a PFG, a fishing shirt, anytime I was a panelist. And Reese Miller, the host for 2 years while I was there, made it a point, or always made a point to bring it up seemingly every single Crossfire show. And even Mark, not as much, I will say, but still brought it up fairly often. And so it was, I don't know if it was my sophomore year, or I guess it was my junior year. So I was auditioning for the Crossfire host, and so I was in a button down long sleeve shirt. I had a blazer and everything on, and I think what we did was or I don't know if it was auditioning or if it was just like one of the last shows, but either way, I didn't have a PFG on. In fact, we retired my fishing shirt because I'd worn it just about, like I said, every single time, just about, with the exception of maybe the very first Crossfire I went on. I hadn't found myself yet. But so we hung it on the wall with all the sports jerseys, and I was not doing so well that episode of Crossfire, and so I think between the B block and the rapid fire block, I'm just like, you know what, I gotta wear the shirt. It's the shirt. The shirt is what's making me good. So we had like, I don't even know, maybe a minute break or whatever. And all of a sudden I just pop up out of my chair and I go to the wall and I'm taking the shirt off of the hanger. And then I'm just putting it on. And I remember Hannah Nevlud, she was the floor director for that particular show. I could hear Matt Adams screaming through the headset. And she was standing quite a way. I'd say she was about 15 or 20 feet away from us, and I could still hear him. That's how loud he was. That's how aggravated he was that I was doing that. And so for me, that was the funniest thing. And then another thing is, this is the funniest thing. A lot of these involve Matt Adams. He's quite the character, we'll say. There was one particular panelist that he did not want to win on a particular episode of College Crossfire, and I think Reese gave him the win anyways, even though Matt was in his ear. No, he is not winning. We are not allowing him to win. No, not at all. Reese gave him the points, gave him the win. I think it was deservedly so anyways, but I think Matt was so salty. I think we had plenty of time for a FaceTime, and Matt's like, you know what, we're not doing FaceTime, we're just cutting it short, that's it, it's over. So a lot of my favorite moments, the funniest moments, involve definitely Matt Adams, just because he's good with his words, we'll say that. If you kind of understand what I'm saying. But yeah, so it's just that. And I think Joe Morris also, in my time, he was only on one college press box, and it was at the very end. Just the funniest, it was like, I don't even know, 5-10 seconds at the very end of press box. Funniest thing ever, because I don't think, like I said, I'd never seen him on press box before. He went on Crossfire a lot. One of the funniest guys to have on Crossfire, just because of the answers that he can come up with, especially when he impersonated Reese. That was hilarious. Just about every single time Reese would get so mad. So yeah, those were some of my favorite moments from TSTV for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Both Joe and Matt were only around for my first year, but some of my funniest moments from that year involved Matt Adams. So Matt, if you're watching, you should definitely be our next guest. I think it would be really entertaining.
You might need to filter him though.
Oh, we definitely would need to filter him. So outside of the studio, we obviously have covered a lot of sports in TSTV. And Texas sports has had its moments over the past few years. It's been up, it's been down. But what's your most memorable sports moment from your time at UT?
For me, it has to be there's a couple that kind of resonate with me a little bit more than others. The first one, I think the most obvious one from our time at TSTV. For me, it would have to be, the first one would be the Joe Tessitore, Texas is back, with the 18-wheeler diving into the end zone against Notre Dame, even though Texas went, I think, 5-7 that year. But just the pure excitement of beating what we thought was going to be like a top 10, top 5 Notre Dame team. And then, expectations mount and Texas crumbled. Another one of the big moments was, I forget what year it was. But it was like, I think it was one of Shaka Smart's first year or something like that. I don't know. Basically, Texas basketball beating UNC at the buzzer, Javon Felix, with like 0.3 seconds left. I think it was Javon Felix. And then obviously the big one, Texas beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. That was just absolutely huge. It was monumental. Especially the pregame. The pregame set the tone for that entire game with Bevo charging at Uga, and that, like I said, that's just basically set the tone for how the game was going to go. Texas wasn't going to take anything lying down. They were going to come out and punch Georgia in the mouth first, and they did everything they needed to basically beat the you-know-what out of them.
Absolutely. Those are definitely some highlights of Texas football for sure. You mentioned that you're now working as a reporter in Midland, and you're not quite doing sports right now, but you still said TSTV prepped you for what you're currently doing. So how exactly do you think TSTV made you better at your current job?
Well, one of the things is that TSTV did was it allowed me to get a lot of time on air. It allowed me to work on my craft, work on my presentation, my broadcast voice. It also helped me with my writing. Kind of indirectly, I would say, just by whenever I create a package or anything like that, or if I was writing my script for Crossfire, it was just like I said, just being able to get on camera as much as I was able to, it allowed me to, I guess, be more comfortable on camera, on screen, and putting out a really good product for TSTV and now for News West 9 out here in Midland. So that was one of the big things. The other thing that I also mentioned this at the Crossfire Alumni Show was TSTV. It allows you to fail, allows you to make mistakes, and it's the one place where you can make mistakes, and nobody's going to fault you for it, because that's what TSTV is for. It allows you to make mistakes, see where you went wrong, and how do you improve. Like I said, without repercussion, really. And so it's like, I think for my first stand-up that I ever did, I think as a freshman, I think my stand-up was probably like 20, 25 seconds long. I was like, that. Look, when I looked at it for our senior show that we had for Press Box, I was cringing every time when they played that, because it was just like, oh my gosh, that is so bad. But I mean, now it's made everything for me and what I'm doing now so much better. I've learned to be a more concise writer, more concise with any stand-ups I do, with my tracks for my stories and everything like that. And it really helps you grow as a broadcaster, and whether that's going to be something you continue on in your career or not. I mean, even if you're just doing it to be a part of TSTV and you have no intentions of being a reporter after you graduate, you can see the growth from freshman to sophomore to junior to senior year, and then if you continue on beyond in your professional career as well. And I just can't thank TSTV enough for giving me the opportunity to, like I said, to fail and to make those mistakes so that I can get to where I am right now.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone from TSTV didn't make at least one on-air, actually like 10 on-air mistakes, they're 100% lying, because
absolutely. No, everyone's made mistakes, whether they want to admit it or not. That's the way it goes. And I mean, because we're all learning. We're all relatively new. I mean, depending on what you did in high school, I don't know, but for the most part, we're all relatively new. We're all learning about all of this stuff together, and that's what TSTV is for, is allow you to learn and grow and become a better reporter, or just, like I said, just a writer.
Now, this is our last question for tonight, but so thank you again for joining us, Jonathan. But you kind of went into failing and things like that. But if you have any other advice for current members of TSTV, or maybe some of our graduates heading out, what would it be?
I would say probably the biggest thing, especially for those who are there right now and will be there next year, try as much as you can within TSTV. Learn as much as you can, but like I said, I think the biggest thing is to try different things. If it's really important, jobs, and especially like if you're going to go into reporting, they want to see you skilled in multiple areas. So try your hand at reporting, try your hand at producing, learn how the board works. If you want to like even potentially direct a show or even assistant direct, learn how to run mics and learn how to floor direct. I mean, the more skills you have, the easier it is to market yourself to whatever job you're applying for. Because especially in this day and age, if you're going to go out and be a reporter, you're basically going to be a one-man band. So you've got to go out, you've got to set up the interviews, you've got to do the interviews, you've got to shoot all the video you can for your story, then you have to write your story. And some days you will even have to produce your own story as well. In the rundown, you'll have to create your own graphics from time to time. I mean, sometimes the producers will be able to help you if they can, but if they're busy, you gotta know how to do that. And learn how, when you're writing your scripts, to translate that to the web, because you also got to write a web script for your stories. So you just got to be able to do it all, really. And the more experience you gain from TSTV by doing all those different things, the better off you'll be when you are applying for jobs, because news directors or sports directors or whatever field you're going into, they're going to look at that and be like, okay, this person, he or she knows how to write, obviously, from their package. They know how to shoot. They know they've created their own graphics, and everything like that. And so it just allows you, by doing as much as you can and learning as many different skills at TSTV as you can, like I said, it just makes you more marketable to potential employers. So that's the biggest thing, is I'd say learn as much as you can so you can market yourself as best you can. And then for those who are graduating, I would say apply, and don't get discouraged if you don't hear back. It's a little bit different right now. I know it's probably it's going to be a little bit more difficult to find a job. I would say, at least in these next few months, just with everything that's going on with the coronavirus and all that. But I would say, don't be discouraged. Just continue to apply to every job that you see that you're interested in. Just send out an application, send out a resume, even if it's for a market that you don't think you have a shot at all to get. Just send it out. Send out your resume, send out your application, send out your reel. At least you're on these people's radar, even if, like I said, even if it's a bigger city. I mean, I'm starting out in Midland, but I sent job applications everywhere from, like I said, from Midland to cities the size of Tulsa to Fresno, and to even, there was a job opening in Houston for one of the sports positions there. I'm just like, okay, who's it going to hurt if I send in my application? I mean, so I did it anyways. I mean, the worst you're going to get, or the worst thing that's going to happen, is that they're going to say no, or you're just not going to hear back from them. But again, don't get discouraged. Just continue to send out your reels and everything, and you will eventually hear back. You will find that job. So that's the thing. Just be diligent with it, and don't get discouraged, especially right now. Like I said, just because it's going to be a little bit harder to find a job in this very immediate future. Hopefully it'll be easier for y'all than it was for me, because like I said, it was about 8 months before I got a job. So I'm sure y'all will have a much easier time than I will. So yeah, and I wish all the seniors that are graduating this year all the luck in the world, whether that's something they continue with reporting, or if they're moving on to completely different fields. I mean, it was a pleasure to be with y'all for about 3 years. So
yeah, absolutely. Those are definitely great pieces of advice. I feel like TV and movies make reporting a really glamorous job, and people don't even realize that reporters have to do so much every single day.
Oh, it's absolutely a lot of work. It's not like what you see on TV at all. It's a grind. I mean, it's worth it. If it's what you love, it's definitely going to be worth it. But it's not all. It's not all what, like you said, TV and movies make it out to be. It is hard work, but I mean, the reward is worth it. You're putting out the stories that people need to hear or want to hear, and yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just and being able to tell your story.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. Great having you back on TSTV. To all of our incredible alumni out there, we want you to be our next guest. We'd love to have you on this show, so please reach out to us via any of our social media pages if you're interested. To our viewers, thank you for tuning in to the first episode of On the Digital 40. There are plenty more to come, so keep an eye on our Twitter at TSTV Sports for any updates on upcoming content. Have a great rest of your Saturday night.